Hello everyone, welcome to another match. We are in semifinals loser bracket. I am joined with Aquatic and Gamma Crayola.
Yep, hello, it's a pleasure to be here. I do believe that this is the first match that we're going to be having this semifinals weekend, and it's going to be a matchup between doncato and White Boy Synergy. And I think doncato has been a team that's been very interesting to observe throughout the course of this tournament, right? I think they were seeded pretty low, around seed 24, but they've made their way all the way to the semifinals weekend. And not just that, if you look through their performances, their individual team performances, going into the round of 16 and round of 32, they have been on absolute fire. I think they were number 1 in round of 32 and number 2 in individual stats in round of 16. So I think doncato is a team that most definitely hits a lot higher than their weight class might initially suggest. But of course, on the other hand, they have a very difficult match up ahead for them. It's going to be White Boy Synergy. I mean, this team consisting of Pez, Enri, and Aza features a lot of tournament veterans. I say they feature a lot of tournament veterans, but of course Crystal is on the other side of the team, but we don't talk about that one. Pez, Enri, and Aza, all of them having World Cup experience. Pez, in fact, being, obviously a 2-time runner-up for the World Cup. So there is a lot of name power going into White Boy Synergy that doncato need to overcome going into this matchup. But we'll have to wait and see how that goes down. It looks like it's gonna be a what's that? Is that No More 2 first pick?
Correct.
Yep, indeed it is. I mean, White Boy Synergy obviously being the much higher seeded team in this matchup, seed 15 compared to the seed 24, I believe, that doncato was sitting at. They're certainly the favors to win this match here in the semifinals matchup. Of course, as you have said, this team does feature a lot of very well-known names, and they have been performing quite well in the previous stages as well. Back in round of 16, seeding at overall seed 4, I believe, in stats. And yeah. Of course, doncato performing very well early round, but we are in semifinals now. The SR is going to start scaling a little bit, and White Boy Synergy, with the players such as Enri and Pez being very well known for their high SR capabilities, it's gonna be a challenge for doncato to try to fight against.
Yeah, definitely. This No More 2 is a bit of an interesting one, right? I mean, a lot of mech tech to be demanded here. I think this map clocking in at 180 BPM does leave a lot of room for the patterning and the expression of the mapper to really be the main point of contention, especially, right, given how this map has these flowing patterns into triangular flowing patterns absolutely littered throughout its map, and that's going to be the main point of difficulty throughout these 3 minutes and 5 seconds. Whose first pick was this, Aquatic?
Let me see. I don't think I paid much attention to that, unfortunately.
I'm actually not too sure. Well, we'll see. We'll do a quick check on the. I'll do a quick check real quick. Hold up. I'll get right back with you. It looks like this is actually gonna be doncato's first pick. All right. So doncato actually being the team wanting to go for the more mechanically intensive pick. I always like to think that No More 2 is a mechanics pick just because of the influence of standard tournaments, right? But I definitely think that, even though it hovers around 180 BPM, not usually what you think of when you think of like alt flowing control. But I do still think that this leans more so towards that control-y side rather than the typical stamina or typical speed or typical stream No More 2 is that we are accustomed to in our more standard skill set tournaments. But with that, Aquatic, let's get into the first map.
Yep, certainly so. This map, of course, you have said earlier, a lot of those triangle patterns, but again, it also features a lot of the wiggly patterns that you have to have a lot of aim control for. So that's the name of the game for this Nomad 2. It's gonna be aim control. The BPM is not going to trip up any of the players in this lobby too much, I believe. Just under 180 BPM. And yeah, here we go into Nomad 2. No one has found any early misses just yet.
Yeah, that's right. The map is slowly heating up. As of right now, you know, everybody just getting accustomed to the tempo, getting accustomed to the flow. And Gahao is going to be the first one to find the miss. Pez and Aza now going to be holding an advantage against Crystal going into the second quarter of the map. Aza might find a miss, but he is going to bring Crystal down with him. And with that, Pez is now going to hold the scoreline in his hands, hold the score lead in his hands, and it's going to fly towards that right side as Pez looks to widen the score gap further and further with a 99.01% accuracy to his name.
Yeah, Azer, Crystal struggling to hold on their combo here. Gahao, the only one putting up any sort of fight against Pez, but that is still an FC you gotta put up to. And with that miss, that's gonna be any sort of recovery combo on the side of doncato gone. And Pez still holding on to that FC, a very dominating performance in this first pick so far.
Yeah, that's right. We are going into a bit of an off-KI section, right? So it's just going to be more and more momentum building for Pez. And if Gahao still struggling to get any sort of footing, it's going to be very, very rough for doncato to get back into the action. Aza might find a miss, and with that, Crystal the only one with a combo, but Crystal can't seem to hold it for long enough as Pez continues to run rampant on the scoreline, completely uncontested right now. 1.1k score and counting. I mean, what can you even do?
Indeed, score lead's just gonna keep going towards the side of White Boy Energy. 190, 200k score lead already, and we're barely 2/3 of the way through. Here's 1.3k combo. Pez is still holding onto that FC. Those flowing patterns are not catching them off guard whatsoever. The OWC runner of Pez is just showing just how dominant he is on these control picks, and I mean,
yeah,
that's
a statement from Pez to kickstart the match, right? And I think it's a very, very good time to talk about just how important Pez will be throughout the course of this matchup. Gahao, I mean, is doing a very, very good job. 800 combo recovery and counting, but Pez is doubling that and more when you look at the accuracy as well. I mean, just a fantastic score from Pez. I think Aquatic, we're gonna have to. Well, I think doncato really need to reorient the strategy to try to avoid Pez going into these next picks.
Yeah, Gammy, you've certainly said it. Pez, I believe that is an FC to close out this first pick. Nomad 2, 99.12% FC 2000 combo. You gotta pick into a map that Pez cannot like just guarantee such an incredible score on if you want any chance of taking a point off of Viper's Energy here.
Yeah, definitely, right? I mean, it's back to it's gonna be up to White Boy Synergy to try to look for some kind of angle. They most definitely want to capitalize off that early victory over doncato, and you know, I think with that, they can most definitely, it opens up the opportunity, it opens up the door to all of the flowing picks moving forward in this match, right? I mean, I'm looking at this Nomad, I was looking at this Nomad 2, but I definitely think that Nomad 3 is perhaps a pretty good shout for them to go into. Maybe even something like a hidden 3 might be pretty interesting to see from them. Really, I think it'll take us a bit longer to get a good grasp as to what exactly the board state looks like and what exactly these teams want to go for this match, just given how, you know, a lot of the maps play rather adjacent to each other. There aren't any like clear genres of map. There aren't any distinct genres of map, of course, because it's in the name. It's Tech Cup. There's a lot of tech maps. So these differences between a lot of the maps can be rather subtle, and until we see more picks come out, it's a bit difficult for us to come up with a roadmap. But with that, we're gonna see EX1 getting picked out by White Boy Synergy.
Yeah, speaking of contrasting skill sets, Nomad 2 featured a lot of those flow aim control patterns that you would see in, well, a map such as Nomad 2 was. EX1 is somewhat on the opposite side of the spectrum if you look at tech maps. It features very, very high slider velocities and very, very complicated sliders throughout the entire map. It's a very artistic form of mapping, but it becomes incredibly difficult to hold on to those combos, especially if any of those sliders with the incredibly high slider velocity features any slider ticks or the such. Accuracy is certainly gonna be the name of the game here. Being as high as the slider velocity as this map is going to feature, it's very easy to drop those slider ends, and that just means your overall accuracy is gonna take a massive hit. We'll have to see how either of these teams handled that accuracy challenge.
Yeah, definitely, right? Especially Aquatic, considering that the win condition for this map is accuracy, right? There's no combo game to be had here. You need to follow these sliders. You need to be able to hit it to the very end. I think a dilemma that a lot of tournament players have when going into very complex slider-based maps or sliders or like tech maps in general, big slider tech maps, is the question of whether I'm willing to sacrifice a bit of my accuracy to just cheese sliders, like, because it's a lot easier if you just don't have to follow the slider. It's a lot easier if you just aim the heads, right? But on a map like this, it necessitates you aiming on these sliders, doing the dirty work, making sure that your cursor gets thrown around and follows every single note. So I think it's very interesting that a map like this is has an easy win condition, and I think we might see a bit more of a different attitude being taken towards a map like this. At the same time, I mean, I like to shout out this map in particular. It's one of my favorites in the pool. I do believe that this was one of the submissions for the USA Beatmap World Cup team. I think this map in particular, and you know, this was the team that ended up winning the entire Beatmapping World Cup. So some US on US action here. But funnily enough, Henry and Pez not gonna be in for this one, so not quite a US buff that you're expecting. But here we go, early sections of the map, and you already get a test and appetizer of the fast sliders to come.
Yep, certainly so. The map has not kicked off just yet. We're just going into the build-up section right now. Map looks pretty normal so far. None of the incredibly long sliders showing up just yet, but you can definitely see a little taste of the slider velocity on some of these other shorter sliders here and there.
Yeah, that's right. It's just some build-up right now. Slowly but surely, we're making it to the end, and you know, one great thing about the overlay is you get to see the accuracy change in real time right now. As of right now, both teams are still somewhat close to each other. You know, doncato having about a 0.4% disadvantage when it comes to the accuracy, but definitely not anything quite out of reach just yet. We're going into more of these double patterns, and here's where we expect to see a bunch of accuracy drops. And with that, doncato are going to drop below the 98% margin for just a little bit. Meanwhile, White Boy Synergy still holding strong with the 99. Finally goes below the 99, but I mean, you're looking at the side of doncato and they are at 97. Still, White Boy Synergy holds a 1% ag lead over their adversary.
Yep, all combos are gone, but that's not really what you want to look for here. The accuracy is going to be king here on this accuracy win condition map. Azer with the easy, actually holding on to a very respectable 98% now, while Crystal and Gahal unfortunately at the low 97, high 98 range, while Enri, the anomaly in this match, still at 99%, just now dropping out of it. That is going to give the advantage over to White Boy's Energy as we get into this PI here. Everybody's going aiming for those high velocity sliders, and the complicated slider patterns are coming in.
Yeah, I mean, Envy is the main battery for White Boy Synergy on a pick like this, right? The highest accuracy in the lobby, and it's by a pretty large margin considering how difficult accuracy is to grab on a map like this. Gahal front just finds a bunch of accuracy drops and drops below 97. Firmly cementing White Boy Synergy, firmly escorting them to the very end of the map with a very, very decisive 2% ag lead over the course of this EX1. Emery's gonna go to the end and look to run the extra mile all the way past the Planet Slider. And with that 98.5% accuracy, what do you even do?
Yeah, you've said it, Gammy. 98.5%, an average of 97.4. White Boy Synergy once again takes another point off of doncato, and on their break point too. this is an incredibly good start for White Boy Energy, being up 2-0.
Fantastic, absolutely fantastic for White Boy Synergy. They have converted their breakpoint into a lead, and they're looking to go even further, right? But it's back to the drawing board for doncato. They need to find some sort of angle into this match. They've yet to do it, and given how White Boy Synergy has already closed out 2 avenues going into this matchup, right? They've closed out flow aim, and they've also closed out hard slider attack. It's going to be more difficult for doncato to pick in, and I personally feel as though they should look to dabble into a bit of the mods. I'm staring at the hidden and the hard rock, and I think one of them could be a good shout.
Yeah, of course, there is, but then you look at the last map, EX1, you see that Azer has gone for that HD preference, and
true.
you immediately notice that, know that, like, White Boy Synergy is just gonna have at least one player that's gonna be very comfortable on that HD mod on those hidden picks, despite, you know, being on hidden. I was thinking if doncato is looking to experiment, they could perhaps go for some of those lower AR picks, such as HD2 or even Nomad 6.
That could be a good shout. I think that could be a good shout, and for what it's worth, I'm pretty sure Gahao as a player is pretty talented when it comes to low AR gimmicks. And I think if they do want to dabble into it, it could be a good shout. And here we go. Yeah, you were right on the head actually, Aquatic. They decide to pivot into Corruption by SR2. This is a, I believe, low AR hidden tech map, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, indeed. It's not quite at the usual AR8. It features AR 8.5, I believe. Reading slider tech, I believe.
Yes, it's gonna be slightly easier than your standard AR5 map. But I think, you know, on a map like this, getting combo, being consistent is gonna be very, very difficult, especially given how awkward a lot of the flow in this map is, right? You have a lot of the slider flow aim patterns. You have a lot of flow aim into snap aim, and you have XL decel. You have like sliders, of course, because it's a tech map. Of course, there has to be sliders. And overall, the diversity of the patterning on a map like this, in tandem with the AR 8.5 and the hidden, it's gonna be very difficult to exercise control, and it's gonna be difficult to get any sort of consistent combo on the board if you're, you know, going up on a map like this. But doncato needs to win this. If doncato doesn't win this, you know, if doncato loses this pick, it becomes a lot more difficult for them to play into the rest of this pool, right? Because this is by probably one of the most distinct maps in the pool. It's also on the opposite end when it comes to accessibility, right? AR 8.5 hidden is something that, you know, only players that are comfortable on the low AR hidden can exercise comfort on. So if they are unable to win a point here, where else can they go? Is the question.
Indeed, you have said it, Gammy. doncato, though, I do want to mention, during their qualifiers, HD2 was one of their highest scoring maps. I believe the highest scoring map, in fact, on their team. However, that's the skill set for HD2 back in qualifiers was one of precision, which is quite different compared to the map we see here.
Yeah. That's right. As of right now, it looks like both teams are pretty solid, pretty consistent when it comes to the AR8 hidden. Enry is the largest score on the board, being matched by Crystal right now. So with that miss for coming from, I do think that was a bit too early to say anything. So Azer going to be matching up with Gahao right now, and as of right now, nothing really happening to the scoreboard. Azer, however, that miss is going to be real, and with that, Gahao is now going to be the determining factor for the scoreline here, looking to widen it as far as possible. But Gahao is not going to get far with that score lead, with that combo lead, and he does find the miss, but down goes Crystal, and that's going to be detrimental to the scoreline as Enry instantly steals it right back.
Yeah, even though they had the combo advantage for a slight bit, there was no damage done to White Boys Energy's score lead whatsoever, with Enry's 98%, as well as Age's 95% being matched by Gahal, but Crystal also down at that 95%. There's just no competing with Enry's incredible accuracy, as well as that FC still being held. Both players finding a miss on Doncato's side, there's just no one that's able to match up to Enry, especially with that full combo reset.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, nothing much to comment on from this point on, really. Envy is just in a league of his own when it comes to this entire lobby, right? You're looking at Envy being the highest accuracy and only FC in the lobby. Highest accuracy by about 2% and the only FC remaining. And with that, we're coming to the tail end of this map, and that score lead is good, looking to reach towards the 500k mark. Not gonna quite reach it, as Henry unfortunately finds a miss at the very end, but it doesn't detract from just how incredible the score has been from White Boy Synergy and from Henry in particular. And with that, dire straits for doncato. They tried a completely new angle and it just didn't seem to work.
Yeah, it just seems that nothing seems to be working for doncato here. Be it flowing, be it slider tech, be it lower AR reading. White Boy Synergy just is on top of everything that doncato is going for here. And given that this is a tech cup, this is a tech tournament, what else is there to go for?
Really, that's the thing, right, Quadic? What can doncato go for moving forward, right? You're looking at maybe some of the hard rocks, maybe double time, but I mean, double time does not. This doncato just does not strike me as a team that will willingly pick into double time. So I don't know. That's gonna have to be a story for doncato's pick. But meanwhile, it's up to White Boy Synergy to continue their onslaught, right? If they win this pick, they make every pick moving forward for doncato a lot more difficult, because doncato are just gonna have to play into their hands, and doncato losing another pick instantly takes them to match point. So, White Boy Synergy not looking to show any mercy on a matchup like this. I personally think that they could, however, go for a map like EX2. I want to see EX2 come out, but it's instead gonna be No More 4. So it's gonna be another. It's gonna be another map that places a lot of emphasis on, I think, finger control. A lot of emphasis on the mechanics, if I'm not mistaken. Actually, that's not true. It's more rhythmic, actually. I wouldn't say that it's like mechanically intensive, although it does require some sort of mechanical prowess, and it most definitely requires good application of the of your tapping in order to play it properly.
Yeah, it's also got some of those slider tech patterns sprinkled in here and there to just keep you on your toes, keep that aim sharp and accuracy sharper, of course.
Yep. This is a fantastic song. I do believe that this is from it's from Will Stetson's vocalist group. I can't remember what they call it, if they even have a name, but I love this song so much. And this map in particular is a guest difficulty by Zar. Not a very famous mapper, at least in the tournament scene, but I think in the mapping scene they are pretty big, involved in quite a few Mappers Choice Awards in 2022, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, with that, we should be jumping straight into the action very soon. Across the span of these 4 minutes, you can expect to see a lot of 1-6 hit the board, right? You're expecting to see finger control upon finger control upon finger control. But curiously, Aquatic, I'm not actually expecting this map to be one that's very inaccessible for these players, because for what it's worth, right, a lot of the slider aim patterns on this map aren't too difficult, and where the tapping is concerned, I do think that, even if you're not the best at tapping, it's still within grasp.
Yes, you've certainly said it, Gammy. This map is relatively low on the BPM side, being just under 140 BPM. Even at 1/8, for players of D's caliber, I believe that is not going to be too much of an issue for them. It's more of that finger control element. If they tap a bit early on those bursts, it could result in somewhat lower accuracy in general. but I would say this is more of a consistency check, given that this map is going to be one of the longer maps of the pool, being at just under 4 minutes, 3 minutes and 47 seconds.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, it's gonna be a bit of a slow one in the early sections of this map. There's some time for these players to warm up to the song, warm up to the map. But it'll take a while before we get to see some action on the board. As of right now, there really isn't a lot of density to be desired, and we're just getting another teaser as to what's to come with the rest of the map, right? Just a bunch of 1-6 mixed in with these weirdly overlapped sliders. I think when the map does become more intense, I could definitely see these closely packed sliders coming in at weird angles being a point of contention for these players. But as of right now, not going to be quite enough to trip anyone up. But as I say that, Gaohao going to be the first one to draw first blood on this map.
Yeah, immediately followed by Envy though. Crystal versus Pez, the two players that seem to be holding quite a bit more combo throughout these maps so far. But Pez, of course, we've seen what he can do. Crystal is going to be fighting an uphill battle, especially with that accuracy deficit, 97% to the 99 that Pez is holding, as well as Henry's 99.6. Gaohao down at 96%. It is just not going to be looking very good for doncato in terms of that score lead, already at 100k just off of that accuracy deficit.
Yeah, I just don't think Gaohao is quite able to manage the weird flow aim in tandem with the rhythm changes, right? The 1-6 patterns are really is just what's getting Gaohao in a place of discomfort on a map like this. And meanwhile, Envy, it's a lot easier to look at that miss. It's a lot easier to look at his earlier miss and just chuck it up to a shit miss compared to Gaohao, who just doesn't seem to be able to exercise comfort. And even in the FC in Crystal, it is a whole different world of comfort when you're comparing it to Pez, just because of the accuracy. A 5% accuracy deficit, it's only a matter of time before Crystal finds the miss, and he does just that. And with that, I mean, the break opens up. White Boy Synergy know that they have that score lead comfortably in their hands, especially considering Pez still holding the FC and Envy. Massive recovery to be desired.
Yeah, no combo in sight for the side of doncato here. And with Pez and Envy both holding on to a massive combo lead, this just doesn't look very doable for doncato to have any sense of coming back here. Especially now we're closing in on the last third of the map into this Ki. Both teams are holding on to whatever combo they have. Crystal finding that miss, but that is not what you would want to see if you want doncato to have any chance of coming back with that score lead.
Yeah, that's right. We're moving to the tail end of this map, and there really is just no form of hope for doncato right now. Pez and Envy just too dominant, too clean on a map like this. Look at that, double 99 FCs going into the ending sections of this map. This is a rhythm map, by the way. This is supposed to be rhythmically intensive. This is supposed to be difficult to act. But as you move into the most intense sections of the map, White Boy Synergy are unrelenting in their pursuit for this scoreline. Last sections of the map, and it's just for style points here as Pez finally goes down. Envy right there to carry on the baton, carry on the torch going into the endings of the map. And with that score lead grows to a monumental 760, 770, 700, almost 780k score lead in favor of the right side.
Indeed. And Pez, unfortunately, not able to close out with the FC, but the damage is done. 700k score lead, almost doubling the score of doncato. It just shows just how dominant White Boy Synergy is in this matchup.
Yeah, that's right. It's gonna be difficult for doncato. I mean, we've been saying it ever since they lost on the Hidden 2, but it's gonna be difficult for doncato to play into a map like this. It's difficult for them to find an angle in, because White Boy Synergy has already cut out their options when it came to the Hidden 2, so really the gimmick is out of question. It closes out your avenues on, I believe, the No Mod 5, and by soft extension, the Hard Rock 2. I think it's a bit foolish to compare Hidden 2 and Hard Rock 2 just because they are quote-unquote gimmickier skill sets, but it does give you a little less confidence. It does make it a bit more difficult to justify going to a pick like that. But looks like doncato is gonna go in for the Nomad 5, as I mentioned before. Even though this is a pick that definitely favors them, right? This is low AR, this low AR Nomad. Then again, you don't know what White Boy Synergy is capable of. You don't know if Envy or Aza can put up a show on a map like this. So even though doncato seem to be the favorites on a map like this, it's hard. It's hard.
Yeah, I mean, this Nomad 5 is a lot different of a gimmick compared to that HD2, where HD2 is more of a low AR HD tech check. This map is just your pure gimmick map. If you wanted to say this map, I could even say this is like the least tech map out of the entire pool. Being looping rooms, it is going to be a lot of those reading and rhythmic elements. You gotta listen to the song tap on the beat and be able to read those overlaps very well, given that this map is at a very low AR4.
Yeah, this is mapped by the lovely 44444444444, also known as Astralis, who's also a BN, very well known. Huge shouts to Astralis. I love this guy. This guy is such a phenomenal gimmick mapper. I think the best way to describe a map, like, there are two ways to describe it. Of course, we say like I said, go figure. But the other way that I can describe it is playing this map feels like it's eating up your inputs on every single circle. I think when we get into the KI, you'll be able to see these sliders that look a lot like normal circles, but you have to hold on them. It's a bit difficult to explain right here, but we should be able to see it once you get into the KI. Not just that, however, a lot of these sliders on this map are very, very slow. So slow and so long that a lot of them actually have slider ticks. But overall, it all comes together to form a map that feels very, very unintuitive and feels very, very sluggish to play. In essence, it feels like you're walking through the mud on a map like this. Is it going to be the first one to find a miss, so an early lead going to be pushed in favor of doncato? When it comes to a comfort, when you look at a comfort perspective, it does seem as though doncato have the upper hand, but we're going to have to see how it goes going into the KI. Here we go.
Yeah, and Gami, here are the short sliders that you mentioned earlier. A lot of these players are being caught off on a Gaohao, the only one to come out of that with any semblance of combo, actually. The score lead is going to be, for the first time, on the side of doncato, just off of Gaohao's slightly more combo compared to the rest of the lobby.
That's right. And it's looking pretty dangerous for doncato at this juncture, right? I mean, even though this is a point that they should be holding an advantage on, I mean, look at that struggle coming in from Aaron, looking too hot when it comes to the misread. Gaohao is really just the only one only one on the team who's exercising that sort of confidence. And even, my goodness, the hit sounds are so confusing on a map like this. But as Gaohao finds the miss, Aza might fall as well, but Envy is going to anchor down that scoreline with a 400 combo recovery to his name, going to the last quarter of the map. And I mean, how is he reading all of this?
Yeah, and that is the last slider of the map, I believe. Envy has closed out this map once again. The massive combo, recovery combo that he held near the end of that map has secured them another point on the board and putting them at match point.
Phenomenal stuff from White Boy Synergy. They now threaten match point against doncato, and they're looking to close out this match on their very own pick as well.
Yep, Gami. From the looks of it, doncato is just out of options and out of time. They've tried literally everything that can be tried in a pool, in a tech pool such as this, but nothing has just worked out for them whatsoever. They tried the gimmick, they tried the flow control, and they played those slider techs, and nothing seems to work against the bastions that is Pez and Enry on White Boy Synergy. We'll just have to see how what they try to aim to close this match out.
Yeah, I think it's really just a story of it's really just the story of doncato playing against someone who's heavily out of their weight class, right? There's not a lot you can. I think in the earlier SRs, doncato were very, very good at holding their own when it came to consistency, when it came to, you know, that low SR prowess. But as the SR begins to scale, I think we're really seeing the struggle. We're seeing why they weren't able to see it as high as, you know, their round of 32 or round 16 performances would have seemed to suggest, right? As you get into these higher SRs, they're just unable to keep up with the competition. And meanwhile, White Boy Synergies just have a higher baseline when it comes to their consistency, which gives them so much more leverage, so much more comfort and confidence going into each and every one of their picks, even picks that don't favor them. And with that, it looks like White Boy Synergy are looking to go into the hidden one.
Yep, this map is going to feature a lot of those somewhat similar patterns to that No Mod 2 that we saw earlier in the match. This time it's going to have a bit more of that slider tech element, but still the aim control requirement for this HD1 is incredibly massive. And yeah, a very favorable pick for White Boy Synergy, just looking at their No Mod 2 pick from before. Let's see if doncato can pull out a miracle.
Yeah, this is I love this. I love this map. It's a map by the lovely Mia. I'm not too sure. I'm actually not too sure if this is a custom map. Hold on, let me no, this is not. Alright, this is mapped in 2022. As I expected, but this is a tournament version that Mia made specifically for a tournament. I can't quite remember. I think it was It was Banger Bonanza. Yeah, I knew I recognized that freaking banner on the map. But yeah, this map is a doozy, right? There's a lot of weird flowing patterns here, mixed in with the occasional, what do you even call it? Slider spam section? Slider spam section? I mean, this is such a weird map, and on hidden as well, it's gonna be a very, very difficult to exercise any sort of consistency on. I feel like I say that a lot about I feel like I say that a lot whenever it comes to a hidden map, but it's even more so the case on a map like this, right? Oh my goodness, this map is so in your face. I love it.
Yep, you said it, Gammy. 4 minutes and 36 seconds. Consistency is definitely gonna be an issue on such a long map. We've certainly seen consistency being shown on the side of White Boy Synergy. Both Envy and Pez have shown that they can hold a massive amount of combo on these maps. And Azer, of course, coming in, being the hidden comfort preference player on Team White Boy Synergy. It is very reasonable to see Azer in for this HD1. But yeah.
Yep, we're slowly building into more and more density. This map does take quite a bit to get into the action, but it's a very, very slow burn, right? The map, it takes a while to get going, but when it gets going, it really just bursts in your face. And we see the first bout of the difficulty come in here as the flowing patterns open up to the players. Misses flood the entire screen, as in a matter of seconds, everybody has lost the grasp of that combo. So we are going to be reset to 0. Stagnation is going to fill the screen for just a little bit longer, but right now it looks like the accuracy from White Boy Synergy is being the determining factor for them. Crystal just caught with a 3% accuracy deficit, and that's really what's putting them on the back foot right here. The map only continues to go up and up and up as Azer and Gahao both find misses. Envy going to be the largest combo in the lobby, standing down that 300 recovery against Crystal, outlasting them as Crystal finds yet another miss. Once that section comes in and Envy finally goes down, but that is going to be 80k in favor of White Boy Synergy.
Combos are disappearing everywhere. No large combo in sight. Crystal, the largest combo in the lobby, finding that miss once again. The score lead is just going to continue to stay on the side of White Boy Synergy and rises to 100k now. We are in a slow build-up section, but this map does not let it go, even in the slower sections. These slider spam patterns are incredibly easy to lose your combo on. But we do see all of these players still holding on, besides Crystal's miss from earlier.
Alright, scoreboard opens up. I mean, I will say that entire section was a bit less intense when it came to raw difficulty. So it is just going to be a lot of momentum building for both of these teams. as both of the teams see their scoreline. I mean, doncato knows that they are on their knees. They are on their last stand right now. This is for elimination as well, so the loser of this matchup does go home. 113k is the score difference that separates these two teams, and with the current board state, with the current combos on the board right now, it's getting more and more difficult to see doncato making out of this point alive. Last quarter of the map, and it's just going to be slow slider after slow slider after slow slider for these players to build up those nerves. Gaohao just can't seem to keep it together. As soon as the sliders open up, finds a miss, and it might just be lights out for White Boy Synergy at this juncture.
Lights out indeed, with Henry and Azer both holding through this wiggle section. There's just no chance left for doncato to come back from this point. Combo reset across the board. Crystal, the last combo remaining in the map, but there's just not enough density left in this map to make up that 150k score lead. And that, ladies and gentlemen, the semifinals match between doncato and White Boy Synergy is going to end in a sweep for White Boy Synergy.
Yep, a very, very well fought battle for doncato throughout this entire tournament, but at the end of the day, they've met their maker in White Boy Synergy. And when you're playing against, an opponent that's heavily just in a different weight class, it becomes very difficult for you to play. But for what it's worth, they did their best, they put up a good show, and even though it wasn't enough, I think they can be very happy with what they managed to perform throughout this entire tournament, making it to semifinals as a team below top 20 in terms of qualifying seeding is definitely no easy feat. But with that, congratulations to White Boy Synergy for being the victors of their first semifinals match and the first match of the semifinals weekend. They will be going on to face off against the winner of the matchup between either Sky Trails or Queer Furries. Man, I hate this team. It's always the same players. It's always the same freaking players. But of course, if you are interested in seeing that matchup, it's going to be at 15 UTC Saturday, which will be the very next matchup of this very next match that we're going to be seeing today. There are 3 matches lined up at 15 UTC Saturday, so do hop on by if you are interested in checking it out. And I think before we go, I do think that there is one more thing that we have to talk about. Yeah, that's right. Oh, actually, no, wait, we're fine. Alright, we're fine. Any last words from you, Aquatic, before we close things off?
None from me here.
Alright then, with that, ladies and gentlemen, you guys have been watching Lela's Tech Cup 3. My name has been Gamili. His name has been Aquatic. Huge shoutouts to Anya for being our lovely streamer. And we will see you when we do. Goodbye, guys.
Bye-bye.